Hello everyone, my name is Karel de Smet. I am a business analyst at Odoo, and I will be presenting to you today what is new about the new version of Odoo. It's version 14. In version 14 we didn't release as many new apps as in version 13. We mainly focused on improving existing apps. So, a moment here. So today, basically what I want to focus on is definitely a few new apps, but also some improvements on existing apps. You're going to see that I'm going to cover 6 topics. There's more new about version 14, but we're trying to keep the webinar today around 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And basically I made a selection of what I think are the best main improvements in version 14. So just to give you an agenda of the day, I'm going to talk about the website builder and what's new in there. We're going to talk about the business intelligence tool that's incorporated within each of the apps. So that's not an app as is, but it's incorporated in pretty much any model that has a pivot table. So it's going to be interesting in terms of use cases. There's a data cleaning app. So this is a new app separate from all the others. Within MRP and inventory, we have reworked some tools. I'm going to show you those tools based on a use case in a moment. Then we have our point of sale, which we all know, but we improved a lot of features there. So I'll show you that. And I'm going to end with the events app, an app that's been around for a long time, but we improved it as well. And the use case I'm showing today actually will fit into this webinar perfectly. All right. As I said before, we have 30 to 45 minutes to cover all the topics. That means that I'm not going to go in depth into every app and every new feature, obviously. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat and I will answer them at the end of the talk. Or my colleague Pauline will answer them to you during the talk if that is possible, depending on the nature of the question. All right. So this will be the agenda of today. What I'm going to do is switch to an Odoo version 14 test database. This is a database that you guys can test yourself when you want. But I'm going to show you everything first. So I'm going to start with the website builder. The website builder is in the website app. If you open your website, basically the main view still looks the same. You have your toolbar at the top, but you will see immediately if you click on edit to edit a page, the main toolbox that we offer you is on the right side of the screen. It consists of 3 main pillars. I'm going to start with the options one because this one is more for heavy configuration, right? One of the first decisions you have to make if you build a website is obviously which theme are you going to go with. So here at the bottom we have the theme switcher. Obviously it's advised to do this at the beginning of your website building, right? Try to find a theme that speaks to you. What we've done in version 14 now is we've actually built the themes and we've kind of linked them to a certain goal, a certain industry, sometimes even. For instance, if you're looking for, if you're a services company, then the clean theme might be good for you. There's retail themes. There's themes that are more linked to creativity. There's corporate websites that are a bit more tight, that have a bit more of a tight feel. So what I'll do is choose a random one. I'll choose this one here, the creative avant-garde theme. The moment you choose a theme, the system will load in the theme. This doesn't take too long. In the meantime, I want to talk about some technical improvements. So what we also have in the new website builder is code injection. This means that through a very simple tool, if I click on edit, I'll quickly show you. This has to do with coding, so obviously I'm not going to show it to you live, but here at the bottom in the options tab, you have your code injection. So you can very easily say, look, I want to add a piece of code to every head of my page, or I want to add it before every the body part of the page. So that's very handy. Besides that, once you've chosen your theme, you can actually choose the theme colors. So if you like the look and the feel of, for instance, this theme, you do not have to necessarily go with the pink and gray, right? You could switch it up, but I'll leave that up to you, all right? Now let's talk about the blocks. The blocks are on the right side of the screen. That's not the only thing that changed. We obviously improved the blocks. I'm going to give you a very simple example by just drag and dropping in. I'll just take this one, a text and an image. The moment you drag it in and you click on the block to edit it, that's when the system switches to the third tab, which is Style. And in this, you can really fine-tune each of the blocks, fine-tune the images, etc. Pretty much anything. One of the last things I want to talk about, I'm not going to show you live because it will take some time, but one of the things I want to talk about is the dynamic content. So we have a Google Maps building block, we have an events building block, but you even have building blocks that allow you to see to show records from the back end. So you could show your products, which we already show in the shell, but you could, for instance, show any record that you have in the back end of Odoo through a building block, which is pretty powerful if you think about the amount of use cases you could solve with that. All right. I'm gonna switch to the back end of Odoo because I want to talk about the next topic. So we're back in our database side, our back end side. And the next topic is basically the business intelligence tool. This is a big word, business intelligence. We basically, you could refer to the Odoo spreadsheets. The way we build it is that if you have an app and that app has a nature of, if you would like to do reporting on that app, you can. For instance, let's say you have a sales team. That sales team sells and you base your payroll and your commission structure is based on the amount that was invoiced to a client by a certain salesperson, right? That's a very common topic, but you can use your imagination for anything else, of course. But let's take that basic use case. How are you going to do this as a manager or a person in the administration team? You're going to say, look, I want to look at the reporting for my invoices, which is already very powerful. I can perfectly build a report and say, look, I want to see per salesperson for the month of October. I want to see what's going on for my team. My team is very small here, Mark and Mitchell. Mark is not doing too great in comparison to Mitchell. Excuse me. But you can imagine that with this data, this might not be enough to do your payroll, right? It's good to see that Mitchell's doing great, but you want to do more with this. So what you can do is switch to the pivot view in Odoo. And in the pivot view, the spreadsheet integration is built in any pivot table in any piece of Odoo software. So all you have to do here is basically build your pivot table the way you want. I always suggest to minimize everything, choose your measure or measures if you have multiple. In this case, just to keep the example simple, I'm going to go with one measure, the untaxed total amount that we invoice to a client. I want to see this per salesperson, and I want to pivot this over the invoice date per month. Very simple. This is already pretty powerful. This is already great. But what I can do now is I can insert this into a spreadsheet to do my further analysis. And that's what we mean by the business intelligence in Odoo. So here I'm in Odoo still, and I have an active spreadsheet with all the functionalities that you're used to in a normal spreadsheet. I'll give you an example. So first of all, you can name your spreadsheet. So you could say, okay, this is the October payroll, for instance, right? Okay, for October, one of the first typical things you could do is add conditional formatting, right? You could say, look, if my target is, let's say, 3,500 euros a month, you can say, like, anyone that's on top of that target or over, I'm going to highlight those months in green. So we can see that Mark did well in September, but he struggled in August, and he is struggling in October, right? For Mitchell, he did great. He did decent in September. He's doing great in October. He had a rough August as well. That's the first thing you can do. one thing I want to talk about, I'm not going to show you live, but one thing that's super powerful here is you can actually inject other pivot tables as extra data sheets in this existing sheet. So you could say, look, I also want to use data from the CRM to see how many calls or how many activities Mark completed or how many activities Mitchell completed. You can basically build a report that brings in data from different models. For the sake of this demo, and because I'm only talking a few minutes per topic, I'm not going to dive into it, but it's just so you know. One of the things I want to show is just a formula to show you that the formulas actually work in Odoo. So let's say you have the payroll here, the payroll column. You can say net pay for October. Let's say these people work with multipliers, right? Let's say you get 0.4 of your target paid out if you are below target, and you get 0.6 if you're on target, for instance. So what you could say here is like, look, if for the October sales that Mark did, if that amount, oh, my bad. So if this amount is over or equal to, let's say 3,500 as target, then his October pay should be whatever he sold times the biggest multiplier, right? If he's below it, then it should be whatever he sold times a smaller multiplier. And basically now you can make this formula better by adding your dollar signs to be able to apply it for the entire team, for instance. Like imagine if you have a team of 30 people, it's done in a second, right? Now, the reason why I did this is because I want to show you that if I go out of this spreadsheet, if I leave this spreadsheet, it will still exist. Plus, it will immediately update if something changes. For instance, Mark is struggling, right? In October, he's not on target. He's only making $1,000 of commission, while Mitchell is making 5 times that. He wants to do something about it, for instance. What I can do if I switch apps, where the spreadsheet lives in Odoo, where the spreadsheets live is in the Documents app. So there's a direct connection with the Documents app. If you open the Documents app, depending on how you configure it, currently it's configured that all the spreadsheets are in the spreadsheet map. You will see that for October payroll, we have this report here at all times, right? So just to give you an example, if Mark has a great end of the month, he has 1 day left, 2 days left if you include today, and Mark creates an invoice last minute to a client. For instance, he's selling desks, and he's got a great order. Someone needs 6 desks for a big office. Let's say this invoice is for Mark, not for Mitchell. Basically, if this is a confirmed invoice and Mark sold this, if I go back to my spreadsheet, you can see that automatically Mark, his target is updated. So Mark is at 7,000 now, and his net pay is updated in this same report. So imagine if your job is to handle payroll, you can actually already start doing your homework at the first day of the month and just see the numbers update in the moment. All right. I'm going to switch to the next topic, but there's a lot more to say about this tool, obviously. If you have questions about the tool, you could put them in the chat, but what I advise to do is to look at one of the 2 or both talks of Odoo Experience on the Business Intelligence Spreadsheet tool. My colleague Pauline will put them in the chat. One is from a colleague Nicholas, and one is from another colleague Brett. Both are very interesting, so maybe have a look there, and then feel free to test yourself. All right? So, off to the next topic, data cleaning. So the data cleaning app is right here. It's got a nice little logo of whatever that is. I like it. So what you can do here, basically, to give you an oversight. So data cleaning, how it works is you can either deduplicate or clean or do field cleaning, basically. Deduplication is pretty obvious. how it works is the system looks at records, and if those records have the same value for a certain field, it will bring it up in the deduplication tool, and you can automatically merge them. You can make them one, right? That would be deduplicating. Another example would be field cleaning. Field cleaning is more, it's not to get rid of doubles, it's more to clean a certain format of a certain value in a certain field. Very typical example there is too many capital letters, right? If you have the last name of a contact, you imported them, and there's a bunch of capital letters in the word. So I'll show you how it works. You have to first set up your rules. So deduplication rules and field cleaning rules. I'll start with field cleaning. So for the field cleaning rules, I made a super simple rule. Again, there's way more you can do with this, but for the demo, I'm keeping it as simple as possible so everyone's following in this short period of time, right? So first rule is name cleaning. I'm cleaning the field name in the model contact. Everyone knows the model contact. It's your customers, your vendors, your addresses, even your users have a contact record. That name there can be a bunch of issues with that. So we have a field cleaning rule here that says, look for the field name in the model contact, and if you find any words in there that have multiple capital letters, set them so that the first letter is uppercase and the rest of the letters is lowercase. Basically, that's what this rule says. So what you can do is run this rule, and the system will actually find records that have problematic, that have potential problematic configurations. So here, for instance, Jackson with full uppercase letters. This is an issue, so you can validate this one by one. What you can also do is batch validate. But before I do that, I see in this example, for instance, that there's an exception, right? I have Odoo SA, and maybe this SA actually stands for two uppercase, so I can say, look, Odoo SA makes sense. The other ones, this one makes sense. The other ones, they annoy me, so indeed, I want to fine-tune them. So I'm going to in batch validate this, and now your data is cleaned. One last thing that I want to show is if I do this again, so if I run the cleaning rule again, Odoo doesn't pop up again. So the Odoo with the capital SA, it doesn't pop up again because the system knows, look, this one has been validated to be okay in terms of the name format. All right. The other example is deduplication. That's a bit more straightforward. For instance, again, the name. So I made this for the same type of field. Within the model contact, we're looking at the field name. And if we can find a duplicate, then merge it. Now, there's an option here. You can say merge if it's an exact match, or merge if it's a partial match. In this case, if you don't want to look for case-sensitive match duplicates. If you want to look for instance, uppercase, doesn't matter as long as the name is the same. You can do that as well. So in this case, if you do deduplicate, you'll find all the records for which the system expects there to be duplicates. For instance, John Johnson, Gail DeSmet, Jack Jackson, right? And then you can compare here. You can discard if it's not a duplicate, or you can merge. This button here asks you which of the two records it will be merged to. So if you have two and they become one, which one will be the eventual one that you want to merge the other onto, basically. So in this case, it's making a suggestion. You can batch validate or batch merge, or you can merge one by one. All right. I just merged John Johnson, so I'll show you how that looks on the contact. If I look for John Johnson, on the contact itself, all the data will be merged to whatever the merge to record had. And in the chat here, you can see, look, a minute ago, this user merged this one with the other one, and you'll have traceability of what happened. All right. That's a very short run through of data cleaning app. There is more information on Odoo Experience. There is a talk about this. Maybe I can ask. We can put this in. We can publish this later. But if you have questions, maybe for now put them in the chat, and we'll see if we can find a video on it from Odoo Experience on data cleaning as well. I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about MRP. So our MRP app has improved. It already existed, obviously, but it's improved. And the way I want to show this, instead of jumping from one tool to the other, I want to do a quick use case. I'm going to build a table for a client, and that table is configured make to order. So every time I sell that table, I am going to manufacture it. And based on that example, you'll see, I'll talk you through what's new about the tool. I think this will be easier for everyone to understand, and it's also more interesting. So I'll start at the start. I have built a table in Odoo. I've configured a table in Odoo. So I'm going to go to my products. I'm going to filter on KAD, because all my table itself starts with KAD. It's KAD table, and then I have two components, component 1 and component 2. Right? So how this is configured? The table itself is configured as make to order manufacture, which means every time I sell the table, I will manufacture it. And then the components of the table are in the bill of material. And in the bill of material, I have component 1 and 2 that are linked to the table. I'm going to jump back to the table before saying anything else. I forgot to say that I added variants. So this table has a color variant and length variant. And within the length variant, I added one variant that's a custom length. The reason why I added this is because what's new about manufacturing in version 14, there is a better link between the sales order and the manufacturing order when you do make to order manufacturing. So that's why I wanted to show you that. So I'm going to go back to my bill of material and actually show you what changed here. So first of all, this already existed in version 13. It's a way to apply certain components to a specific amount of variance of the table. The main thing that changed here is, first of all, this tab, operations. You can immediately see that there's no routing anymore, specifically on the bill of material. The routing is actually a tab on itself where you define the operations in the correct order for this particular bill of material. So that's a big thing that changed. What else changed is that in the miscellaneous section here, automatically your bill of material will be set to allow flexible consumption. So you have three options now. You can allow it with a warning, and you can completely block it. So this is a big change too. It allows for more flexible default configuration, in my opinion. So it makes sense. Okay, so I think this is enough information for you to follow the use case. So I'm going to walk you through it. Right? If I go to a sales order, a client is interested in a table. Okay, I'm going to select the table. This is going to bring up the product configurator. So basically, if a product has variants on it, and the product configurator is activated in the sales settings, basically you can, as a salesperson, you can actually configure your table, and you can say, look, we're looking at a black table with a custom length of 2.5. 1 is fine. We're selling that table at a certain price. So the moment I confirm this quote, the moment the client moves forward with this offer, the system will trigger not only a delivery order, obviously, for the table, but also the manufacturing order. Now I can jump directly from the sales order into the manufacturing here. And I would like to show you the main things that changed here. So first of all, you can see that the component 1 and 2 are selected twice. So the quantity is 2 because our variant has the custom length. Here, the custom description that was entered in that custom variant is actually portrayed here. So you can automatically see if I'm on the production side of things without having to look back into the sales order. I can actually very easily see, okay, we're looking at 2.5 custom length. So I could actually update this so that due to flexible consumption, I could update this to consume 2.5 instead of 2, for instance. So that's the first big change. The other one is that the work orders, which you normally find here as a smart button, those have actually been added as a tab on the manufacturing order. So from here, not only are they visible, you can also actually control them. So I can perfectly start a work order here in one click without having left the manufacturing order in the first place. So this is very powerful. What's cool as well is that this view, this list view with the buttons, the start, block, pause button, these are integrated everywhere in the manufacturing. Everywhere where you're talking about work orders, you will find those. So to give you an example, if I'm on the production team, I will either go to my production line. So let's say I'm on the assembly line. Here, if I switch to the list view, I will have the ability to start or pause or stop multiple work orders at once, which is very handy. I'll give you an example of the last one here. So this is the number 12. This is the bottom one. So let's say I start it. I do some work, let's say 5 seconds of work to make it very specific, and I pause it. So now I have 6 seconds worked on that particular ticket. Now if I go back here to my manufacturing order, I will actually see that on my work order already 6 seconds has been worked on it, but it's not ready yet. And if you want more information, you can open it from here and you can see which user already did some work on this particular step, which is again extreme. Like in terms of traceability, it doesn't get better than this. What I like a lot is the general way of being able to report. You can perfectly say, look, I want to see anything that's ready, pending, or in progress, and I want to group this by either by person or in this case maybe by work center. And you can see, look, in the drill station, this is what's going on. Certain things are in progress, others are blocked or whatever. So that is the main big change. That's one of the big changes that happened in manufacturing. Another thing that is cool is that in the inventory app, we all know landed costs. For the people that don't know landed costs, it's basically being able to add additional costs to something that's already in your stock. You purchase something, but afterwards it turns out that you have more costs. Those landed costs, you have to apply them to a stock move. Since version 14, you can actually choose to apply them on manufacturing orders. So that's another new tool to actually, on the costing side, have more flexibility than you currently had in version 13. That's the main topics I wanted to cover on the manufacturing side. One last thing I want to show on the inventory side is that the reordering rules have changed as well. If anyone remembers the reordering rules, normally I'll show you for, I think I have, I'm not sure. I'll do it for an existing product that's easier. So you have the reordering rules here. Basically what you can do is actually select here what you would like to do. So the reordering rule is actually linked to a route. This means that if you have variants, for instance, you have a product with 2 variants, but the one variant you would buy and the other one you would manufacture for whatever reason, you could do that here. Another thing is that this trigger here allows you to automatically trigger the reordering rule or to manually trigger it. So it is more, the reordering rules work more in real time. If you put it to manual, basically you're doing the same as in other versions. You just say, all right, it's time to do my purchasing. I'm going to run my scheduler and do my thing. If you trigger automatically, it almost works in real time, where if I sell a product that has a reordering rule on here and the forecasted quantity is below a certain minimum, you will immediately see that feedback in your on the purchase side or on the manufacturing side if you would have routed it as a manufacturing product. All right, I'm going to switch to the next topic. There's always more to say about all of these apps, but I have to switch to the next topic because we're at 30 minutes and we're trying to keep this presentation to 45 minutes. So if there's more questions, we can help you. We can help you later. Okay, so The next topic is point of sale. Point of sale obviously already existed, but I want to go over the new features. So in your point of sale, you can set up all your shops, right? If you open your shop, your new session, you'll get this black. You're not leaving Odoo, but you're jumping into this almost, register mode, right? This is the Odoo kind of switched to a register now. Basically, one of the first things I want to show is that you can have multiple orders at once. So this is an order that's going on. I'm gonna finish it real quick so that we can start clean. So, I'm gonna get rid of this one. Okay, so imagine you're in your store. Someone's interested in chairs. So you say, sure, I have these chairs, and you make a quote for them because they need 6 chairs for their dining table. So look, it's going to be $166. Anything else? That client might need some time, or might be discussing something with their partner. You can perfectly start a new order while you're waiting on the client's verdict. That other client might want some information about some desks, so you're building them a quote. That client might need some time. Sure, that's not a problem. You can start a third order for someone that exactly knows what desk they want. You can help out that person. Maybe they want an invoice, or maybe they don't. If they want an invoice, you're going to put a client on there. Let's say it's Nicole. You can set the customer. Nicole will pay by, let's say, cash. So you're going to give her some change and validate. So Nicole will have the invoice, and Nicole will have the print. All right. In the meantime, you can switch back to your other clients. Let's say this client that was looking at all these products is interested but would like a discount. Sure, you can apply a discount to the customizable desk of 10%. And whatever, you can help the client out, right? So that's the first tool, is to handle multiple orders at once. The other tool that I want to discuss is this one. Basically, it's just a big search. It's a search tool, basically. If you click on it, the orders that are in light gray are the ones that haven't finished yet. So if you click on those, you're going to jump back into that order, right? But if you go to your search and you look for any of the orders that are in darker gray, those are the ones that have been handled before. So let's say here, Colleen Diaz, order number 0017. She comes back into the store because she needs to, she lost her invoice, or she lost her receipt, or whatever. You can actually look for either the receipt number, or you can type in her name if she's in the system. And then you can find anything from Colleen, for instance, right? You click on it, and here you will find the order that was made, and you will be able to reprint the invoice, or reprint the receipt, or just ask, basically provide her with any information that she lost on that order. So that's definitely something very useful in POS. The last thing I want to show, and I think I have to leave my full screen mode here. Yeah, so I want to show you what Odoo POS looks like on mobile. So basically, if I can switch to developer tools here, basically you can ignore what's around this, but you can imagine if this is your screen, if this is, for instance, a tablet, the system will adapt to it. If this is a phone, which is probably more this shape, you can do your work on a phone as well. Basically, if you want to see what you're doing in this order, you switch on the review button. You see what's going on. Here you can add your discounts, you can adjust your prices, you can handle the payment. You can switch orders as well and go back to an order that's already open. Or you can switch orders and start a new order. It all works this way. You even have the search engine here to look for any orders that have been done in the past if a client has a question or something like that. So pretty powerful tool. The fact that you can use it on a tablet and that it adjusts quite perfectly is awesome. So I'm going to leave this mode. I'm going to go back to my main Odoo. And then I'm going to, I want to talk about a few more tools here. So one of the things you can do in Odoo POS is you can edit the settings of your shop while the session is going on. So not for every setting, but a lot of settings, it's allowed, the system allows you to adjust them when your shop session is open. The last thing I want to show is if you close your session, it will ask you to close the session and post the entries, and you will see that for the whole session of that day, you will have one picking. So there's one big picking for the products that have moved from your warehouse to the customer. So it gives you a nice summary of what happened that day in terms of stock moves. All right, I want to spend the last few minutes on the last topic, which is the Events app. So the Events app has been around for a while, but we've really improved it this time with some integrations that weren't there before. So if you open the Events app, the first thing you'll see is that we added in default this Kanban view, so you can perfectly see for a certain event in what stage it is. Like, do we still have to book the venue? Is it officialized? Do we have all the supplies, etc.? What Odoo will do for you is put the event in the ended column automatically the moment that the event has passed. So that's something that Odoo will do for you. Those other stages, you can perfectly use those to really organize your events and see what still needs to happen, what needs to be prioritized. All right. For this example, I'm using today's webinar to kind of show you how you could use the Events app for this type of event. It's the Odoo webinar event here. You can see it's planned October 29th at 3 p.m. So basically, Odoo webinar is the name. Here you have control over which pages you want to show on the website page. For instance, you might want to see who are the exhibitors, is there a community page, etc. I like this tool a lot. This is the tags. It allows users to filter on the different events and actually see what's going on for them. For instance, if you're looking for an online event, or you might be looking for an event in your age category or in your language, which is quite important, then with the tags you can add that, and people can use that as a filter, basically. I quickly want to show you what this event looks like on the website. Basically, you'll have your different pages, right? And this fully integrates with the website builder, right? Because this is a very boring homepage for an event. But basically, how it works is, let me see. I want to show you the home page first. So this would be your events page. So here you can already edit the page and add more information. But if you land on your webinar itself, you'll have all these different pages. Now what you could do is use the edit button. And since it perfectly integrates, obviously, with this website builder, you can add your data here and fine tune it here, make this look more interesting. That's something you can do way in advance. What I'm going to do is navigate back to the back end of Odoo here, because one of the main tools I want to spend a few minutes on is the tracks. Because if you have an online event, Odoo now in version 14 actually built a integration with YouTube. So now, since I am broadcasting through YouTube, I can actually show you how that works. So you build your tracks, your different talks. What is one of our tracks? It's what's new in version 14, right? What's very important is to put the date. So you have to tell the system, okay, when does this exact talk start? How long is it supposedly gonna last? And what is a YouTube link in this case to show? So that's how I set it up. You can see this is, I added myself as a speaker, added a picture. You can add a description of the talk, and you can add interactivity. So this is a really cool one, because let's say during the talk I say, look, let's say I'm talking about accounting or something, and I say, look, this is a short webinar, but I cannot talk about accounting right now, but there's a button on my left side for you guys that you can click, and then after the talk you can look at our accounting demo, for instance, right? So that's how it works. I want to show you the front end side to show you the result. So normally, on this page, we can now see the actual event that's going on. You can see that there's a lag here because what I'm presenting has a few seconds of lag. But here you have the chat, and if I click on this button, I will go to whatever YouTube link or whatever other link, right? This doesn't have to be a YouTube link that you link to the button. It can perfectly be any type of link that's relevant to what you're talking about here on your talk. All right, so I know I went fast over these 6 topics, but the goal was to introduce you to version 14, not to make you an expert in 40 minutes. But what I'll do now is focus on the questions. I'll see which questions have been answered by Pauline. And if there's questions that haven't been answered, I will now try to spend some time on those. So give me a moment to look at the questions, and then I'll see which ones have been answered. Give me a moment to catch up. So Pierre Lefebvre is asking, can we use calculated measure to use and display in spreadsheets? Honestly, Pierre, I would want to ask you to put that question in webinar@odoo.com. That's an email address that you can send questions to, and we will help you out. The reason why is because I don't know exactly what you mean by calculated measure. If it's something that is usable in a standard Excel, then I would say yes. But since I don't know exactly what the tool is, I don't want to promise you anything. I would ask your question through our email address. So for anyone that's going to have questions that are unanswered today, webinars@odoo.com. All right. Invoice analysis. Is there the possibility to monitor sales margins? So the sales minus the cost. This is an answer from Sim Vater. So the link, there's a link to the spreadsheets that my colleague already said. In general, how the margins work in Odoo is on the sales side. So you do not see the margin on your invoice. Basically how it works is in the sales settings of Odoo, you activate your margin. So if you look for margin in the settings, you'll be able to activate it. And basically what it does is it will, in accounting as well, actually. So in accounting, you can activate margins as well. The only thing that's very important to know is that those margins will work best on average costing. So the costing method of your product is important if you're talking about margins, because the system needs to know, okay, what is the exact cost of my product? And if you're working FIFO, the exact cost of your product will only be known at the picking process, right? And the picking process can happen way after the invoicing process. So what do I mean by costing method? If you go to product categories, which is one of these, if you just look it up here, the product categories, which we all know, there's a very important setting here to say I want to do standard pricing, FIFO, or average costing. If you want to have the best margin analysis, or at least the most flexible tool for that, then average costing would be advisable for that. I hope I answered your question. I would definitely try it with the setting that I just showed and with average costing. And if you have more questions, I would ask our team at webinars@odoo.com. I'm browsing through the rest of the questions. Okay, so Edward Smith, you're asking, how can we edit the date of an invoice? That seems to be, I don't think it's that hard, honestly. I'll show you. So you have an invoice, Deco Addict, for instance. I'm not sure if you can do it with a paid invoice, but you can set it back to draft. So you have to set it back to draft. And then you change your date to last week. And you confirm it again. So make sure it's in draft and you should be fine. Then, someone's asking if the video will be, oh, okay, that question's been answered, okay. In the manufacturing, you used tags for variants. What will the rule of thumb using tags or adding fields to the form? I'm gonna reread this question. If I don't understand, I'm gonna ask you to send an email. 1 second here. I think what you're asking is the following. This is a question by Myron Sherman about the bill of material. You're asking, how does it work with the tags? Basically, if you look at my table here, you have these tags, right? I think that's what you're talking about. Basically, how this works is if you have a product, a table, KAD table, we've all seen that this product has a bunch of variants on it, right? White, black, length 1.2, 2, and custom. So that means we have a total of 6 variants that are possible. Now you can see that I have one bill of material for all the 6 variants that we have in the system. Now, there's 2 ways to solve this. Either I make one specific bill of material for each specific variant, or I can make one big bill of material that I assign to the product template, and then in the component list itself, I'm saying, look, component 1, use a quantity of 2 for component 1 if the variant length 2 or length custom are selected in my eventual variant. Choose the component 1 quantity 1.5 if the variant 1.5 length was used instead. And I'm doing the same logic for component 2. So basically you're making the choice. Either I'm making a more complex big bill of material using these variant tags, or I'm using I'm creating one specific bill of material for each variant by filling in this field. So I think that will answer your question. If not, you can reformulate it or send an email to our team. All right. I'm going through the list again. There's a question from Camilla Vergara. So she's asking, is the website module necessary to obtain the public URL? In my company, it's not working. Which modules work together with the website module? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by obtaining the public URL, but I assume there's 2 things here, because you're asking 2 questions. The first one is the public URL. I think what's relevant here is that on your database management, so on your database itself, you can manage your domain. Without having the website app, you can manage your domain. So you can make the domain of your database URL. You can modify that here. That has nothing to do with the website. Your second part of the question, which modules work together with website? A lot of them. Like a lot of them. I'm going to try to sum them up. It's possible that I forgot a few. But the website integrates with e-commerce, and e-commerce then integrates with sales and invoicing. So you have that sales part of the website. You have your events, and those events can also integrate with sales if you're selling the event tickets. But events is a big one. There's a forum. There's a contact us page, or any type of form page that you can build on the website with which you can trigger actions in the backend. For instance, a form on the website can trigger a lead in CRM. A form on the website can trigger a sales order even, or a contact creation, anything like that. There's the website portal, which is you're basically adding your client as a user to your database, but as a portal user, so that they have very limited access on the website to see their invoices, their help desk tickets. By the way, the help desk app integrates with the website through the tickets, but also through the live chat. So if you want to give live chat functionality to your clients through Odoo, all you need is the website and the help desk for that. So that's very powerful as well. There's probably things I'm forgetting, but in general, there's a lot that integrates with the website for sure. Okay. Someone's asking. Jello Jogs is asking, how do you manage devolutions in POS? Devolutions. I'm sorry about that one, but I've never heard of that term. So maybe if you could rephrase it, or if you could send it in a more elaborate way as an email to webinars@odoo.com, I'm sure someone will reach out to you soon. Okay. When is version 14 to Odoo coming online? Justin K. Ostillo, when is version 14 coming online? Right now, right? It's already live since October, so since the beginning of this month, I mean. So if you go to odoo.com and you click on, if I log out here, yeah, whatever. If you click on this, start now, it's free to start your new trial. That will be in version 14. Okay. Oh, Pierre Lefebvre now specified his question about the Excel. You're asking the kind of DAX measures we have in Excel. DAX measures. Again, Pierre, I'm sorry about this one. I suggest that you put your entire question as an email to webinars@odoo.com, and then someone can look at it. But because unfortunately I've never heard of DAX measures. I've also never heard of calculated measures, so it's probably on my end that I'm not too familiar with parts of Excel. Someone's asking, Anton Chandra is asking if you can move your database over from version 13 to 14. We're building the migration script for that. So every time we release a new version of Odoo, we build a migration script. Basically what that means is it's a script that translates the code from version 13 to version 14. We always do that after releasing a new version, right? Our priority is to release the new version. Our second priority then, what we focus on now 100%, is how can we get people on this new version that are already on Odoo. I don't dare to put any time limit on that, but we're working on this right now, so you'll be informed the moment the migrations can be put into place. Okay, so Urchel Wist is asking if I can do a talk through the help desk module. So I think this is good for my colleague Pauline that is monitoring this talk. We will take it as a note, Urchel, that it would be interesting to have more information on the help desk tool. In general, I do think there's talks about the help desk, but we will take your request. We will take a note and try to organize a webinar around it. Then, David Andrian Silavo, you're asking if we can share new features for developers. So technical features for Odoo 14. David, what I would advise to do is go to the YouTube page of the Odoo experience and see if there's anything, because there's a lot of talks that we did at the beginning of this month at Odoo Experience. If you go to YouTube and you go to, you look for Odoo Experience 2020, basically you're going to find 200 videos. So there's a lot of videos here, but there's 200 videos on everything that's been discussed. And in this list, there are actually very technical talks as well. So what I would advise is to go through that, to scroll through the list and see if there's any talks that you like, look at them, and if you have more questions, reach out to us. but I think there will be a lot of talks in there that might interest you. Then, Nick, you're asking in the website builder on the Odoo cloud, can you add custom code, like embedding by other sites, for example? So basically what you can do right now in version 14, if you go to your website, any page you're on, so let's take the event page. Basically what you can do here is you click on customize, you can immediately open the HTML editor and you can edit the code right here. So you don't have to be on Odoo SH to be able to modify your pages. You could do it right here. All right, advise us to do it in test, to always do it in test and then in production, but in general, the way you can access the code of a page would be through the HTML editor, and here you can do your thing and test whatever modification you're trying to build. Ethan Liu is asking, can we consider to have multi-language for the product category? We can definitely consider that, Ethan. My colleague will take note of that. That's a good feedback for us. We will consider it and see if we can add this. Roman Gumzai is asking how we're doing on translations. So that's kind of an open question, Roman, how we're doing on translations, but basically in Odoo, most client-facing and user-facing views are translatable. For the user, it's very easy. You go to your preferences and you adjust your language. For the client, same logic. You go to the client and you have your language fields. Currently it's not activated, it's not installed, multi-language, but normally there's a language field right here that you can select. For the languages themselves, there's pretty much, I'm not going to say that we have all languages, but there's a lot of them. Basically, if you go to your general settings and go to languages, there's 85 languages right now in standard, and we're working on more translations as we speak. But what I would advise is go through this list, and if you don't see the language that you would like in Odoo, maybe send a feedback to us through our help desk, for instance. That would be very useful. Yeah, so Sumit Khatri is asking if you're in version 12 right now, can you directly migrate to version 14? That's a question you would have to ask through our migration to our migration form. So if you go to your database manager here, my databases, basically there should be a button here to migrate. It's not here because I'm already in version 14, but here you can request to be migrated to a new version, and there you will immediately see if it's possible to jump from 12 to 14. My best guess is yes, but I would advise to check out here, and normally you should be able to select version 14, but again, not yet, right? The migration script isn't ready yet, but once it is ready, I would expect the option to be there for you as well. Here's a new question by Patricia McCaig. I'm going to read the question out loud and see if I understand better. So Patricia McCaig says, I have a sheet that I use for our sales. It's broken down per salesperson and type of product. Can I upload it in order to create invoices, or is it better to upload it using the import facility? I don't see a difference between uploading it to create invoices and uploading it with the import facility. That's both would be uploading, both would be importing, right, Patricia? In general, yeah, if you have it broken down per salesperson and per product, with the right import template, you can directly import invoices. What you can also do is import it as a sales order and then confirm that sales order so that you have the invoice. If you're only going to do reporting on the invoice, then the sales order part is not necessary. It's up to you. It kind of depends on how much you're doing in Odoo and how much you're not doing. The real question here would be, why are your salespeople not using Odoo in the first place to add their sales in Odoo directly? That would, of course, be the most elegant solution. But if you have questions about imports, I would suggest that you ask our help desk and see if they can provide you with a template. Then another follow-up question from Sumit Kathri. Can you use 2 languages in Odoo that can also display on the layout? So basically, 2 languages at once. That's what you're asking? As far as I know, Kathri, or Sumit Kathri, I've never seen that in my Odoo career. Ethan actually answered that question. I think to show both languages, you would need a development. I think the data is there, so I think it's definitely possible. But to show both languages at once would be a development. To show a customer-specific language, it's very easy. It's what I just showed you, right? You just set it on the customer. Edward has one more question. Is it possible to edit or customize the customer invoice mentioned on the invoice itself? Yeah, so Edward, if you want to change anything on the customer-facing side of Odoo, all you have to do is use Odoo Studio for that. So Odoo Studio is the tool that you see on the top right here. So if I want to modify an invoice, let's say an invoice to a customer, indeed it will say here invoice 20, and if I print this, I'm not sure what this will look like. It says invoice, right? If that bothers you, if that disturbs you, that's not a problem. You can actually activate Studio here. Odoo Studio is the tool that you use to modify Odoo as it is, and you can modify the backend, but you can also modify the PDFs. For instance, here this invoice PDF, I can modify it here with the building blocks. I can change the wording here. It's whatever you want to do, basically. There's another question from Anton. If for a database I have several companies, how can I manage for each company to have a different domain? I'm pretty sure you would need multi website for that, which is a free app. Anton, it's not a free app. It is within the website app. You basically activate multiple websites and then you have one domain. What you can also do is in your settings here of your database, through the domain here, you can add multiple domains. Oh, wrong button. You can add multiple domains, and then each domain for each domain for each company can come on here. You could do that as well. Okay. I'm sure you have more questions about that. I think it's a bit complex to answer over this format. So what I would definitely advise to do is to put your question, your whole use case in an email and send it to us so we can properly help you with that. I'm still talking to Anton Chandra. All right. So definitely let us know and we'll help you out in more detail. I'm seeing if there's other questions here. El Kandus is asking, is there any way for Odoo Studio to generate the code of the custom model that is created by Studio? Yeah, for sure. So it depends what you're talking about. I'll give you a super simple example, right? So I'm going to go back to my backend here. Let's say we're talking about our invoice again. Basically, one of the things you can do with Studio is if I do anything with Studio, it doesn't really matter what. I'll do something basic. I'll add a decimal field here, just in the form view. The moment I do something with Studio, the system will create what we call an inherited view, right? It will take the view, the standard view that we have, it will inherit that view and add the custom code in there. If you want to see that code, you have to make sure you're in debug mode, right? So make sure you're in that developer mode in order to see it. And once you're in developer mode, you can access the XML. So here you have the standard views that Odoo already has, but you also have the custom Studio view here, where you can exactly see what XPath expression was used and how it added the field and how it added any attributes that might be used there. Of course, for the actual Python, you need to have Odoo sh. In Odoo sh, you can actually see the structure of the model itself. But for the XML, you can access it directly in Studio. All right. Then Ethan is asking, I hope you'll have a webinar where you can explain the user group. Inherit to manage salesperson only could see which model. Yeah, okay. Ethan, for that one, I think it's quite a technical question. How do the user groups work, the access rights? It's kind of hard to explain in 5 minutes, but yeah, that's a very technical. It's a very technical topic. Send us an email, and we'll see if we can handle it through our sales team or our support team. And if not, we'll at least show you where to go with those type of questions. John Dicken. Oh, 1 second here. Oh, I lost my chat. Let's see, because I'm actually already 7 minutes over time, so I have to kind of wrap it up. I'm going to see which question. There's 2 more questions. I'm going to answer those, and then I'm going to have to jump off. But John Dicken is asking, if you have 2 companies in a database, you have work orders enabled for one company and disabled for the other. Good question, John. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. The thing is, it doesn't really matter, because even if you would have work orders activated in both companies, the work orders will only do their thing. They will only be functional if you configure them on a bill of material, right? And your bill of material, if you look at how it's set up, I'll take this one, you'll see that there's a company field on here. So if in one company you're using something with operations and in the other one you're not, you can basically have 2 bill of materials, one for one company, one for the other, and basically you'll be helped, right? That doesn't. I would test it. I mean, if you test it, you'll know instantly. And if you see that the setting is company-wide, if it's for all companies, then you can easily solve it by using this company field on the bill of material and properly configuring the bill of material with or without operations, aka work orders, right? So that should normally help you out. If not, write out your use case in more detail, send it to us in an email, and we'll unblock you, okay? Last question. I have a multi-company and I need to set separate print layouts for both. Is it possible? Yes, that's possible. Basically, on your general settings, depending on which company you're in the settings, you can do this basic document layout. So if you click on, okay, I want to configure my document layout, basically here you can choose your logo, you can choose your layout, you can choose your font and your footer, etc. And you can do that per company, basically. So that will help you to have a different logo, etc., and a different look per company that you're using in Odoo. Test that out. try out your use cases and let us know if you get stuck. Send us an email again if you have follow-up questions on that. I'm going to ask this very last question because it's the last one, and then I'm going to jump off. Jacob Fagerland is asking, is there a planning view where the current manufacturing plan is seen in a view similar to Gantt, and where, for instance, the manufacturing orders can be drag and dropped and conflicts are clearly visible? I would advise to test that out yourself, because that's a big topic, Jacob, to bring up. But I want to show you what it looks like right now, right? If you go to manufacturing orders, you can see currently there's no Gantt view here. That doesn't mean that we don't have the functionality. It just means that it's not activated. If you want to activate the Gantt view, basically what you can do is with Studio select the views. You can activate your Gantt, but you will notice the moment you activate your Gantt view, the system requires you to define a start date and an end date to each record. That makes sense, right? Because the Gantt view shows your records based on whenever a certain record, aka manufacturing order, starts and when it would end. In this case, it's selecting these it's suggesting you to use these two. So the moment you do that, you have your Gantt view now. Doesn't look very interesting for now, but that's because the data is not in your manufacturing order, right? If you would go to your manufacturing order, you would need your start and end date, first of all. You would need to add them here. They're not editable, so you'd have to add those with Studio. They're existing fields, so you look for the start date, which I'm gonna add right here. I'll do it on top of the scheduled date. And then there's I think it's end date. So basically here, let's say I have, this is already configured. So I'm gonna start from scratch. So we have we're making a table. Now basically, these fields have to be made editable in order to show you the Gantt view. I'm not going to spend more time on this because I'm really running late and we have to stop streaming now. But basically, a quick tip to you: activate the Gantt view, choose a start date and end date field that are editable for you, and basically then you will see in the Gantt view that your manufacturing orders will show based on those dates. You can drag them around, you can make them shorter or longer, which will update this date field, and you will see which manufacturing orders overlap. Or even for work orders, it's the same principle. Activate Gantt view for work orders, and you will see which work orders in a work center are overlapping, and you can manage your bottlenecks from there. All right, so test it out. If you get stuck or if you have follow-up questions, try to summarize what you've done and what you're looking for, and send it to webinars@odoo.com, and we will help you out as soon as we can. All right. So thanks everyone for your attention and for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.